And so what ended up happening is I needed them to survive. And I immersed myself in gang culture. I immersed myself deeper into the trenches. My name is André Joachim Jr. Hear my story. My fondest memory growing up was seeing my dad wrestle, being ringside and seeing my father wrestle, and at times even being part of the act. I can remember, like, they gave me a part in it where I would put, like, drink water, and while he's wrestling somebody, he's spitting the water into the other wrestler's face. And so, it's hard to explain, but I get these emotions of like bliss, you know, and then later, when I was 4 years old, my mother came back, and she came back with a mission to reunite her family together. So she came there to visit us at my father's house. My father let her visit, and then she just left with us when he said, "Okay, I'll be back. I'll give you a moment." I didn't know who she was. I didn't know anything about her. I was just traveling with my brother. And that's where life took an unfortunate turn for me at an early age. And so what ended up happening when I um, came here, there were instances of abuse. I questioned why I was even here, why I was even born. I wanted to die. I wanted to just disappear and fade into nothingness. And, you know, just having to live like this day after day after day, or getting in trouble and getting beat again, or living in the fear of being hit. What does that do to a child? It does a lot to a child when I think about it. I think about how many times, I looked to teachers and everyone as I came into the classroom with welt marks around my face, around my neck, or on my arms, just wishing someone would do something. But, and what ended up happening is the last time I experienced physical abuse, I stopped it. And now I'm big enough to stop it, but now I'm not big enough to stay inside that house. So I was kicked out, and I basically went on the streets where the streets welcomed me in. What ended up happening, I ended up getting caught up in a situation where I was like wrongly convicted of a armed robbery. I was locked away and just forgotten about. And then I went to prison, and I'm around all these hardened criminals. And it was a scary moment. It was scary times. And so what ended up happening is I needed them to survive. And I immersed myself in gang culture. I immersed myself deeper into the trenches, uh, or the dregs, like people would call the dregs of society. And so what I ended up doing was end up going to criminal university, because I learned a lot of things. I learned how to be a better drug dealer. I learned how to stick people up without getting caught. I learned about doing shootings, without getting caught up. And so it did nothing for me. It didn't do anything as far as rehabilitating me. It just sent me deeper down a darker path. And I say the lowest of the low um, is when I found out um, I had I had one son that I just had one son, and I found out I had another son on the way. And the day I found out that I had another son on the way, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop selling drugs. I'm gonna stop doing all these things, because I don't want to teach them that this is not the legacy I want to teach them. I don't want to teach them about gangs. I don't want to teach them about drugs. So after I sell out everything I have, I rationalized. After I sell out everything I had, I was going to stop. And an hour later, I got caught, and that was the lowest of the low. Realizing that um, I was going to be going to prison and leaving my sons out here to fend for themselves. I didn't want to be that person anymore. I didn't want to be that person who was known as a drug dealer or a gangbanger or someone who was a good hustler or whatever. I didn't want that label anymore because I wanted to do something more. And I remember my father telling me that, even though they may take away my freedom, they can't take away education. And so I started going to school in prison. I started taking classes. And when I got out, I accumulated like 80 credit hours. Well, where I'm at currently, I'm pursuing a doctoral degree in counselor education and supervision. And I think back to uh, some of the things that people have told me, how I can make such a difference in life, how I can be a leader. And I do look at myself as a leader because, I look to empower and give strength to those who may not be at the same place where I'm at, and, help them find hope, help them find their voice so they can live like normal lives, because not everyone has experience of living a normal life. I want you to know that you don't have to live life hustling, gang banging, selling drugs or whatever. I want you to know that there's a big world out there. And as much work as you put into the street, if you put that into education, if you put that into broadening your horizons, you can go anywhere you want to.